Now we're going to look at racism in China. How about that? So as you know, may or may not know, I should say, that the Chinese do not like Japan due to World War II with the history there, right? So due to that, and why am I talking about that? Right? Why? Because it's got to do with anime, right? It's got to do with cosplay. So due to that, that time, what's happened is terrible things happen. Like we know terrible things happen in World War II. I mean, war is just, it is what it is. And it's never, good. Now, so because of that, anything Japanese in China is kind of seen as being anti-patriotic, right? It's like, where am I going here? So it's anti-patriotic and against your own country, your own people. And so we get this little video here, clip from China Fact Finders, right?
This is on Christmas Day, okay? This is in Guiyang, okay?
Yes.
Capital of Guizhou there.
Okay.
And they're having a street festival type thing, okay? So you can see they've got stalls set up and all that, okay?
So she's wearing a kimono.
And there were various people dressed, kind of doing cosplay dress-up type thing, okay? One woman dressed up as one of her favorite characters from a cartoon, and she dressed up in a Japanese kimono. And this auntie went ballistic on her, the usual,
why.
You are a traitor to the Chinese.
I wonder why.
Yeah. And got the crowd obviously gathered around. Everyone was berating her, and got to a point where she actually took the kimono off and apologized to the crowd.
Wow.
And I just want people to see this, because it's important to realize everybody that values their freedom of expression, okay, in the West, and who protests and goes out and does stuff, you cannot ever support China, because you would not be allowed to do what you do.
No.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So anyway, it's kind of maddening, because if you look in the background, can you see over there? There are other people dressed up as well. Can you see there's like that couple and they're dressed up as like fantasy characters or whatever they are?
Right there.
But she was singled out because she wore a kimono.
As well,
Yeah, you got to be careful in China with anything Japanese.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the problem. This was Christmas Day this year. This was just
so you imagine that, right? You cosplaying as a character, your favorite character from probably her, right? Probably more of a simplified version of her, but probably her, right? From Demon Slayer. I can't remember her name. It's been a while because I haven't seen it since last year or something. But and it's got the pink flower pattern and so on and all the rest. But guess what? This is why I say I love the West. I love living in the West. Why I enjoy being in the West, because I can like what I like. I can dress the way I'll dress. Nobody's gonna pull me up because I've got a skull on my t-shirt, right? Or if I got Batman on my head, and I can dress the way I want. I can go to down the street dressed up in a costume. Nobody's gonna care, right? Or put a mask on, and nobody's gonna care, because that's the freedom that we're offered in the West. And a lot of people don't realize what that feels like, and on my handle, right, I've got like creating comics as comics like it's my religion, right? And in the sense, it is kind of like that for me, because I had to let go of religious ideals, because I felt like by holding on to religious ideals, dogmas, I should say, right, I couldn't be creative. Now that I felt, right, because there's things stories I want to tell, and I want to tell it a certain way, and so I had to let go of that. Now, however, when you're in a country like China, communist China. And I always say communist China because it's nothing to do with Chinese people or anything like that. It's the actual, the ruling party. And these people there are like, have no freedom. You know, they want to tell the world that's how they should, everybody else should be because of how good they are, but they're not. Right? The leaders make all the money. They get to travel overseas freely, spend, you know, they're the elite, right? They like own everything, right? Basically, they own what you can do, who you can speak to, when you can say something. You say something wrong, they'll come and knock on your door and you're gone, right? And I think a lot of time people don't appreciate the freedoms we have in the West. I think people don't appreciate the amazing things we are able to get, right? That we can just rock up to a shop right now and buy whatever we want when it's, you know, and it was only during COVID that we realized there was like supply chain was thing. But, you know, you could go from one shop to another shop and you'll find it. However, there, you know, that's pretty hard. And I think, you know, to have someone, you know, tell you to take off your cosplay because it's, you know, because you're unpatriotic, because it's from another country, you know, then that's kind of weird, right? I remember wearing my manji with the svastika, which is the, which is, you know, the original version of, you know, the cross, right? The German cross, you know, you want to call it. But, you know, in the Japanese, you know, it's like a Buddhist symbol and it's an Indian symbol. And I had that on my back and nobody cared in New Zealand. And a crowd of like about 500 to 1,000 people over 2 days. I think I only wore it on the last day. Yeah, the day we had to do the competition. Walking around, nobody cared. I'm on the stage, nobody cared. Because that's the joy of having freedoms like we do in the West, and especially in New Zealand. For me, I think that we've got amazing freedom. And I think it's, you know, sometimes you got to be reminded of what you don't have to realize what you do have, what you could lose, right? And I think, and that's why, you know, that's why I love living in the West. I love living in New Zealand. I love the Pacific and stuff. And even in the Pacific, sometimes, you know, there are rules and regulations. However, in New Zealand, you know, you just got to mind your own business, right? And you're good to go. And just be respectful. And what we say here, don't be a dick, right? And everybody understands what that means.